People, businesses, and local governments are scrambling to cope with major flooding all around mid-Michigan. Some areas are experiencing the worst flooding they've seen in decades due to rainfall and the melting snow.
6 News has been following the flooding all day long. We have our team of anchors and reporters ready to bring you the latest updates from across the region. We'll hear from them in just a moment.
But first, let's get an update from the situation from our chief meteorologist, David Young. David, what's the latest?
Fortunately, the rainfall has come to an end, but not before the damage has been done, certainly. And the rainfall totals have been extremely impressive. Take a look at a few of the numbers coming in. Bellevue, 4.54 inches, over 3 inches in Grand Ledge, 2 inches over that in St. John's. Lansing and Jackson both reporting over 3 inches of rainfall. There's the rain now to the south and east. Great news there, but nonetheless, a flood warning continues until midday Thursday, including Lansing, Jackson, St. John's, and points west and northwestward. Here's a look. This is going to be a record-setting event for the Grand River in Lansing. The record crest is 15.43, set back in 1975. So we haven't been this high in over 30 years, and we'll get close to 15 feet over the next day or so before it recedes into the weekend. We will have much more on the flooding, the river levels, as well as the complete 6-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks for that, David. Well, we begin our team coverage out in the field tonight with Jorma Duran.
He joins us live in Lansing tonight with an update. Jorma.
Yeah, today was a busy day for many city volunteers because they were handing out a flood evacuation checklist. And as it says it right here, serious flooding is possible in your neighborhood. 6 total neighborhoods, as I just mentioned. Up to 500 homes may be flooded. And that's why the Emergency Management Office says they hope people get out of here.
I'm going to start with this one.
City volunteer Colby Winter is going door to door.
Just wanted to let you know that there is a flood warning and that might possibly impact your house.
Making sure people in the Baker-Denora neighborhood know what's coming.
You get down in the lower areas of Urbandale down here, and that's where we could see the 5-6 feet of water.
Lansing Emergency Management Chief Mike Tobin says it's one of 6 areas of South Lansing that'll likely flood.
The water will continue to rise in those neighborhoods till at the very least late Friday night.
Recent rain and melting snow has the Grand and Red Cedar rivers rising, so much so Tobin believes some spots will be submerged.
We have some areas of Urbandale that a couple of our models we could see potentially 5.5 to 6 feet of water in the low-lying areas of Urbandale.
But despite the threat and the flood evacuation checklist and recommendation, longtime South Lansing residents like Shirley Elliott says she's not going anywhere.
I'm safe, and like I said, I don't really worry. I watch.
Now, those who do decide to evacuate but can't stay with friends or family or can't afford a hotel, there will be a shelter opening up by the local Red Cross, and that'll open up tomorrow at noon at the Letts Community Center. Let's continue our team coverage with Alicia Bergio. She joined us now live along Lansing's riverfront. Alicia, what are you seeing there?
Jorma, it seems as though the water is continuing to rise as we speak, and for a local business owner in Lansing's Old Town, this water has created quite a disaster in his basement.
As you can see, it's going up about 2 inches an hour.
Early this morning, this is what Lauren Cisa, owner of Cisa Designs, came down to find in his basement, and the water hasn't stopped seeping in since.
The water's being held back right now by a door. We're expecting 2 to 3 more feet of water yet today.
Cisa says in the past 10 years, his business has experienced 3 or 4 minor floods, but this is by far the worst he's seen.
The water will be up to here before this is over with.
Cisa says when the flooding started, everything was stripped out of the basement.
So far, we have taken the precautions of moving our servers out of the building, so if we end up losing heat and power and sewage, this way we can work off-site.
But for now, Cisa says it's all a waiting game.
We're about ready to lose our heat. And we have one heater, one furnace upstairs, but it can't supply the heat for everything, so we're probably slowly shutting down today.
Cisa tells me the water continues to rise in his basement, and luckily he hasn't lost power or heat. I'm here for you live in Lansing's Old Town. Alicia Bergio, 6 News. Lauren Sherry, back to you.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Well, Aaron Jordan continues our coverage of this flooding tonight.
That's right. He went to Mason today and visited a local business there where the flooding has really taken a toll.
Neighbors who live in the homes on Eugenia Drive near Levon Street didn't want to go on camera. They say floodwaters are a familiar sight in this neighborhood, but they haven't seen anything like this in years. One said the water is between 3 and 4 feet deep in spots. On Tuesday, volunteers put out sandbags behind one of the homes at the end of Eugenia, hoping to keep the floodwaters out of their basement. One person who lives in the home said so far it's working, but the waters were also burying tree trunks, even seeping up to the road. Eugenia Street wasn't the only issue Mason experienced. The city posted on its Facebook page that their wastewater treatment plant flooded Tuesday and a primary tank failed. Officials estimate about 5,000 gallons of partially treated wastewater poured onto the ground.
That was Aaron Jordan reporting. In other news tonight, MSU interim president John Engler called a news conference this afternoon on how the university is handling all this flooding.
Our Alexandra Illich was there. She's here for you now with a look at what's happening on campus.
The water levels in the Red Cedar River are projected to be the highest we've seen since 1975. So in order to take precaution, crews are working on MSU's campus to install these barriers that you see here to protect the campus from flooding.
When something like this comes along, as you just heard, once every 40 or so years, you want to make sure you don't get caught by surprise.
MSU interim president John Engler addressed the media today to let the MSU community know that the university is taking steps to prepare for flooding on campus.
We can't completely control Mother Nature, but you can see, if you look behind me, that the flood plan has been kicked into gear. One of the components of that plan are the flood barriers that are designed to protect the buildings along the river.
Engler also said the rain has already affected some areas on campus. Among the worst are the Jennison parking lot near the baseball fields, sidewalks near the Riverwalk, and several classroom buildings.
We've already announced to many in the community who've been affected through the registrar's office that we're relocating some classes and some events that were planned.
Because of the widespread rain we've seen, roads and parking lots are already closed here on MSU's campus, and they will be until the first week of March. For information including detours and where those roads are, head to our website, WLNS.com, and click Scene on 6. Here for you on MSU's campus, Alexandra Illich, 6 News.
The city of Lansing is teaming up with the American Red Cross to help residents who are affected by flooding.
They're encouraging people to know what services are available and then to take advantage of them. People who live near rivers or lakes should pay close attention to the water level, even if they don't think they're at risk of flooding. Now, the city's website and social media updates include things like flood warnings and road closures, and you can find all of that at WLNS.com. If you need help in other areas like housing, please call 211.
And stay with 6 News. We will continue to cover all things flood related as the waters continue to rise, including things that are being done to keep you safe.
This is Weather First from Storm Tracker 6, brought to you by Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
This really was the perfect recipe for some significant flooding, historic flooding across the area. It hasn't been this bad on the Grand River anyways in over 40 years, that bad, that much rainfall, and temperatures even cooling off into the mid and the upper 30s, still above the freezing mark, so we're still not going to freeze that moisture, what's left on the ground. Let's take a look at that recipe, speaking of that. So we had 15.3 inches of snowfall since February the 3rd. 11 inches was on the ground, which is about an inch of water that we saw melting. And as that happened, the temperatures, they began to warm up. 50s on Monday. And then as we moved into Tuesday, it got even warmer, lower 60s. So that snow was melting. At the same time, that rain was beginning to move in. With that frozen ground, though, that was still the problem. It didn't get to soak into the ground, so it began to run into our area streets and our rivers and our creeks, and of course on our roadways. It was building up, had nowhere really to go, and that's why we've been seeing the problems on the roads. And we saw, as you saw at the top of the show, 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. Here is the result. All these color-coded dots represent river levels, and the ones that are purple, major flooding. The oranges and the reds, significant flooding taking place as well. Across our local viewing area, mid-Michigan, we've got plenty of those darker shadings showing up, the oranges and the reds as well. Other rivers besides the Grand River in Lansing, not quite as high. In fact, the Looking Glass, a little bit better, getting into that moderate stage, but it should begin to come down over the next 24 to 48 hours. And the Grand River in Jackson, not quite as high as it's going to be in Lansing, but nonetheless, there will be some flooding in certain areas. Not a record-setting crest either, but it will be very high, and there will be some flooding across Jackson County as well. Couple pictures I want to share with you this afternoon. Take a look at this. This is coming in from Judy. If there's one thing I want you to get from my weathercast tonight, it's these two pictures. This is a school bus just crossed some flooded roadways. You never know what's under that roadway, though, because here's another shot from Judy. Check it out. The road washed away, so you can't see that when the water is covering the roadway. So you want to, if you see water across the roadway, just turn around, because you never know when that's going to be underneath that water and cause you some major problems. Satellite and radar shows the rain. It's moved out of the area for now, so no issues out there. So we look at precision cast for tonight through tomorrow morning. Moisture's getting a little closer, but I think this first round will miss us to the south, so no issues there. Moving to Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, we are watching to the west, though, because another system is on the way. The good news is this is a much lighter precipitation event. Scattered rain showers, maybe a little wintry mix there at the onset Friday morning, and it quickly moves out Friday afternoon, so not nearly the system that we just experienced. Temperatures behind our cold front today in the mid-30s after 60s yesterday. Huge temperature difference. So we check out the views this afternoon on the Capitol Cam. It's in the mid-30s, 4/10 of an inch of rainfall, and there's the view right now on the Jackson Cam. We've got some clouds around, 4/10 of an inch of rain since midnight, and the current temperature 36 degrees. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Your overnight low dropping down to 24 degrees. For tomorrow, we'll climb out of the 20s into the 30s to near 40 by 4 o'clock, so nice temperature turnaround. On the 6-day forecast, 43 degrees the high on Friday with some rain showers over the weekend. Temps in the 40s, mainly rain showers there too in the 6+ 6 day. The only snow chance I've got is on Thursday, upper 30s. So it's not a lock we'll see some snow, but that's the best chance out of the next 12 days. Traffic tracker this afternoon, starting with the broad view. All those little dots are red symbols popping up. Those road closures because of the flooding. We'll zoom in and across the Lansing area, kind of highlight just a few of those, but there you see, and there's lots besides that aren't plotting on there. So as I said earlier in the show, if you approach a roadway, it's covered by water, turn around and find an alternate route. Be safe.
Good advice.
You don't know what's under that puddle, even if it looks like one.
All right, thanks, David. Coming up next on 6 News, the lieutenant who's suing the Jackson County Sheriff gives his first on-camera interview to 6 News since the scandal broke. What he told us after the break. Well, last night on 6 News, you heard Jackson County Sheriff Steve Rand give his first on-camera interview since he became the center of a discrimination controversy.
Now, the Sheriff's Office employee who is suing Sheriff Rand is also speaking to 6 News for the first time.
Our Jackson Bureau reporter Aaron Dimmick sat down with the lieutenant today. He joins us now live in our Jackson newsroom. Aaron, tell us what he had to say.
Well, Sherry, Lieutenant Tommy Schutte says the decision to come forward and sue the sheriff was not an easy one, but he says it needed to be done to expose what's going on at the sheriff's office.
Law enforcement.
A couple years ago, Lieutenant Tommy Schutte was serving on the SWAT team when he lost some of his hearing.
Severe hearing loss, likely caused by work-related sound exposure.
He reported his disability to Sheriff Rand, but Schutte says the sheriff taunted him about the hearing loss and threatened to fire him.
Call me retard, you know, you name it.
Schutte says he often got reports of inappropriate behavior about Rand from coworkers and heard him use derogatory language.
He thinks he's funny. He is just an extremely vindictive person who loves to capitalize on other people's misfortunes.
In January, Schutte brought these concerns to county administration. However, he says officials were dismissive, then held up his disability coverage and shut him out of the sheriff's office.
My worst fears of coming forward appeared to be happening.
Last week, Schutte launched a discrimination lawsuit against the sheriff in Jackson County, along with releasing audio of Rand making inappropriate remarks.
I knew without the audio, people wouldn't believe it, nor would they comprehend this type of behavior.
County officials say they never mistreated Schutte. However, after hearing the audio, the county board passed a resolution last night calling on the sheriff to resign.
He can no longer be an effective leader.
Sheriff Rand has apologized and says the remarks don't reflect his character. Some have accused Schutte of starting a personal smear campaign, but he says it's a matter of doing what's right.
I had to take that risk, and I had to report it. And I would hope anybody in my position, given what I was told, would do the same thing.
I reached out to Sheriff Steve Rand today to comment on this ongoing situation. He says despite calls on him from the county board to resign, he's staying put in the sheriff's office and he does not intend to go anywhere. Here for you live in the Jackson Newsroom, Aaron Dimmick, 6 News.
All right, thank you for that, Aaron. Well, Fred's up next with sports.
Yes, and he's recapping the big night at the Breslin Center as the Spartans celebrated a championship. That's up next. Stay with us.
This is 6 Sports.
Good evening. Michigan State's basketball team already owns a piece of the Big Ten championship. Spartans would like to take it all alone and can claim it with a victory this Sunday at Wisconsin. Senior night at the Breslin Center last night was a smashing success. After an 81-61 thumping of Illinois, the Spartans saluted their seniors Ben Carter, Gavin Schilling, and Tum Tum Nairn, all kissing that Spartan logo at midcourt in the closing minutes of the game. Tom Izzo, as always, was an emotional wreck as he watched this all. Then it was on to the celebration, the presentation of the Big Ten trophy, and lastly, the raising of the championship banner to the rafters. A festive night for a man who has made this stuff commonplace around MSU.
Kind of neat when you see your dreams come true.
You haven't done this at home in 8 years on senior night.
Yeah, I know, and I think we lost 1 or 2 of them at that time, and so that's why it was special. Even though I don't like raising banners before the year's over, I thought our community, our fans, and our players deserve, needed, and hopefully we'll enjoy it.
Man, no words can describe this feeling right here. This is one that, you know, I've been seeing every single year for our seniors, and now it's my turn. You know, it's just very emotional.
You weren't born a Spartan, but you may die a Spartan, huh?
I'm a Spartan forever, and you know, that banner solidifies it. You know, I'm a part of a championship team, and I couldn't be happier to be here and finish my career here.
All right, very good. Time for our 6 Sports Team of the Week, and this week's high school basketball team has had a special yet emotional season, earning the honor for their on-court success, but also overcoming incredible tragedy of late and have carried on.
Congratulations, TV6 Team of the Week, Perry Ramblers girls basketball.
Yeah, the Ramblers clinched the GLAC title, or at least a share of it, last night, as a matter of fact, for the 3rd time in the last 4 years, and have won 11 of their last 12 games, but have done so while dealing with unspeakable tragedy. Earlier this month, guards Miranda and Casey Crawford were involved in a traffic accident that left Miranda severely injured and took Casey's life at age 16. The Ramblers let basketball take a back seat to grieve the loss, but have also decided now to play going forward in honor of their falling teammates. Our coverage of the flooding, which is wall-to-wall and understandable, doesn't allow us to do more on this, but we'll do it tonight at 11. You got to see this story. That, and it's senior night for the MSU women. We'll have all of that at 11 on another busy 11 o'clock show. How about that?
Look forward to it. Thanks, Fred.
Keep it here. David is back after the break, and he's got a final check of your forecast.
I know you've said it, but I think it bears repeating that 40 years it's been since we've seen this type of flooding.
This is a pretty big deal. This is historic flooding. And of course, if there are any additional flood warnings, things like that issued, your free Storm Tracker 6 weather app is the place to get that. Interactive radar, lightning watches and warnings, hourly forecast, you name it, it is on there. And best of all, of course, it is free of charge. Even better news, I don't have heavy rain in the forecast. I would love to take the rain out on Friday, but some rain showers out there, temps 40s over the weekend, and then 30s as we head into early next week. And I mean, we're still in February, heading towards March, but the only snow chance I got is next Thursday, and we're in the upper 30s, so at this point that doesn't look too big either.
Yeah, still, even with the sun, it's going to be soggy out there for a while, because you know, it's not too powerful yet.
What would you say last night? All this rain is equal to what? A couple of feet of snow?
2 to 4 feet of snow, if it were all snow.
Yeah, and I'm sure people with water in their basements would take that snow over the flooded basement.
You got that right.
Have a great evening.